Next up, report of the mayor. I'm going to do something a little different today. Rather than give some bullet points that I usually discuss about what happened in a week, I have some remarks that I've specifically prepared for tonight's meeting. So just to make it easier to follow, these are just going to come down below and read it formally. First, I'd just like to thank everybody for being here. We don't normally have this kind of a crowd, and I welcome you all here. Today is a very important day in Belleville, and we have two items on the agenda today that's very vital, in my opinion, to the future of Belleville. So it's great that we put the call out to people that are interested in hearing what's going on, and that you're all here, especially the fact there's many people that are watching live, I'm sure. So with that being said, I just have some prepared remarks that I want to read. It's an overview of maybe some of the things you're going to see, and I might be able to answer some questions for you right here and now that you might have later on in the process. There are a lot of people interested in property tax relief. You see, property tax relief happens when you do one of two things. You either cut spending or you increase revenue. Sadly, up until now, the only source of increasing revenue to meet Belleville's budgetary needs has been you, the residential taxpayer. However, there is another way to increase revenue, and that's by allowing redevelopment of either contaminated or underutilized property, so it generates a larger chunk of revenue. Property taxes are comprised of two assessments: land value and improved value. The land value is the cost of the land. The improvement value is the cost of the structure that's on the land. Vacant land only pays land tax, therefore it doesn't really generate much revenue at all. Regarding pilots, which is what we're going to hear a little bit about today, a pilot is an acronym for a payment in lieu of taxes. Today we consider the final step in a very long process. Allow me to dispel the false notion that the mayor, the manager, or the council can just arbitrarily hand out pilots to any developer we want. We cannot. The process to offer a pilot program encompasses the council, the planning board, certified municipal planners, many public meetings, public hearings, and a very stringent public noticing process. The process is interchanged between the council and the planning board several times and includes an ordinance change and several declarations, all of which follow strict state protocols. The end result being a redevelopment area that has a redevelopment plan attached. The process takes so long that the two particular proposals on tonight's agenda actually began under a prior administration and received all the necessary votes to get us to this point. In order for a pilot to be considered, the property must already be in a redevelopment area that has a redevelopment plan adopted. After many public hearings, both properties on tonight's agenda meet this criteria. A pilot application for a proposed tax abatement is then submitted to the township and its professionals, and it must demonstrate that but for the tax abatement, the project would not proceed. The township is left with a decision to either let the property continue in its current state or enter into a pilot agreement which will generate more revenue than in its current state. As I mentioned, the property taxes are a combination of land taxes and improvement taxes, which are distributed among three entities: the county, the school district, and the municipality. So as an example, using the lot for tonight's self-storage facility, which is the subject of one of the pilots up for consideration tonight, that lot pays land taxes of $37,000 a year, split amongst three entities: the county, the school district, and the township. They each get their fair share. It's simply not true that the school district receives no money when the township enters into a pilot program. The school district continues to receive the proportional fair share of taxes. Keep in mind, land produces no school-age children, yet the school district still receives their proportional share of the revenue. This is a fact. That's the land side of taxes, which does not change under a pilot. With regard to the improvement side, keeping with our example of the lot for the proposed self-storage facility, we already established it pays a land tax of $37,000, which is cut three ways. If we could somehow incentivize a developer by helping to make the development project financially viable, which means a bank will finance the construction, we can get improvements built on the property. If we get that, guess what? We receive much more revenue, which goes a long way to stabilizing property taxes. Thankfully, the state of New Jersey allows us to provide that incentive, and it's called the pilot. Keeping with our example, the self-storage facility, once leased out, will generate $1.86 million in gross revenue and $3.7 million by the end of the term. This will provide escalating payments to Belleville of $185,000, and by the end of the term, $450,000 a year, of which we keep 95% with no impact to the school district. So currently the property yields $37,000 a year in land taxes, of which the municipality receives about a third. We get nothing for improvement because the land is vacant. If we incentivize the developer to build by easing and allowing the payments to scale up with growth, a project which wasn't financially viable now becomes viable and we receive more revenue. Compare that 1/3 of $137,000 now to 1/3 of $137,000. I'm sorry, to 1/3 of $37,000 plus the additional $185,000 a year early on and $450,000 a year by the end of the term, of which we keep 95% for 30 years. Why 30 years? Our financial agreement states in year 26, Belleville receives a pilot payment of $406,000. In year 27, we receive $416,000. In year 28, we receive $427,000. In year 29, $438,000, and finally in year 30, we receive a $448,000 pilot payment. That's real money. These extra 5 years generate a whopping $2.1 million for Belleville, for the township. If we reduce this pilot down to 25 years, we lose the revenue that we would only get our proportional share of the taxes, approximately 1/3 of the traditional tax payment. That's why a 30-year pilot in this instance, in my opinion, works for Belleville. The second pilot application on the agenda tonight is for a project to be built in Silver Lake, right next to the light rail. This particular development, consisting mostly of studios and 1-bedrooms, is going to be marketed to recent college graduates and younger professionals who would benefit from the close proximity to the light rail and who typically live without children. Even though in this scenario, the township does consider children and school impact, keep in mind this project is mostly for studios and 1-bedroom apartments. I took the liberty of researching our last multi-unit residential project, which actually dates back 15 years, the Essex Park project on Franklin Avenue. The first thing you should know is that this is a gated community, a townhouse-style development, and it's not an apartment building, although the numbers are quite interesting. Essex Park contains 262 units, which as of last week contains a total of only 19 children. That's only 0.07 students per household. That's not 0.7 students, that's 0.07 students. And again, keep in mind it's a gated community, a townhouse style development, not studios, not 1-bedrooms, which are currently being proposed in Silver Lake. Here's the important information. As per our tax collector, in total, Essex Park pays $1.14 million per year to the school district for a mere 19 students. That's a staggering $60,000 per child. Keep in mind those 19 students are blended over 3 school types: elementary, middle, and high school. So if you're here today, you worry about impact to the school district, I hope you are now satisfied that 1, most pilots are for commercial properties and have 0 impact on the school district. 2, most modern residential housing projects produce far less children than you may have been led to believe. I think local realtors who may be in the room today wouldn't disagree with that fact. Lastly, if you're still worried about impact to the schools, you should know that Belleville's top 20 taxpayers, 17 of them are commercial, meaning they produce not 1 child to the school district. You should also know that these commercial properties pay a total of $2.245 million a year to the school district. Again, that money is paid to the school district in exchange for 0 students. Finally, just go outside. Drive around. Every other surrounding municipality has gone through a renaissance in the past decade. I'm tired of Belleville being left behind. I'm tired of the residential taxpayers footing the bill, all because we cannot attract major development projects because of our fear and/or misunderstanding of pilots. A month ago in February, NJBiz reported that Moody's increased Newark's bond rating. Mayor Ras Barak has specifically cited Newark's successful use of tax abatements. Jersey City has had so much success using pilots to develop their waterfront that a recent article stated the Fulop administration has been focusing its tax abatement policy away from Jersey City's downtown waterfront and toward the inner city. Today our choice is simple. If we do nothing, we let contaminated property stay as is, and we continue to let our residential taxpayers foot the bill. Or we work with the development community. We offer them incentives to allow Belleville to move forward with cleaner land and, in my opinion, a windfall of revenue. In my humble opinion, this is a win-win for Belleville. Thank you.